how journalists are translating medical language or other difficult jargons into public language. If journalists get some valuable information from doctors, from oncologists, from cancer specialists, they translate the language to some public understandable terms and then presenting in front of our readers. So it's crucial for us to understand the internal mechanism of cancer news coverage. And what happened here? And what the journalists they are doing, or why, or what the media they are doing in terms of preventing cancer. Actually, they are carrying two concepts. One is media advocacy, another one is call or cue to action. Media advocacy actually is a target to government. How the media can carry some issue to catch up the government's eyes to look at this kind of issue. And call or cue to action actually is a variable from House belief model. It's external or outside cues for the public to mobilize their readiness or trigger their readiness for House behavioral change, House policy changes for government, and cultivate House promotion on the community level to our news readers. So what is the mobilizing information? The study focused in my study. So mobilizing information is a kind of emotion that can trigger people's readiness, can trigger people's intention to actual behavior. Once people can consume or read this kind of information, can trigger their readiness. So actually mobilizing information was conceptualized in political science or journalism studies in early 1970s. So basically, until nowadays, mobilizing information can be divided into four categories: locational, identificational, tactical, or interactive. Locational actually is very simple, like address or time for some activities, some house promotion event, some free tutorials, or some hospital's address that people can refer to this address, then attend the event. Identificational MI also very simple, like name and contact information of certain specialists that like oncologists, doctors, and so on and so forth. And tactical mobilized information refer to the instruction or tips to that can carry out the readiness to a particular behavior. As tactical. Interactive is only exist in online context, which is refer to the hyperlinks that leading the news readers to another place, which can further their readings or give them more information through interactive MI. So once I categorize the four types of mobilized information, later I will explain in my method and in my research result section. So problem statement. Why mobilizing information is important, and why we need to study this kind of concept in cancer area, because previous studies already indicating that mobilizing information is very limited presented in cancer coverage. That is it is a huge issue in Western country, because they say journalists are usually forget or ignore to placing it in a news article. And most of the research related to mobilized information has been focusing on area besides health communication, such as political communication. They trigger the readiness of some election campaigns, some political event, and also crisis communication. Even though there are research focusing on mobilized information in health communication context, the focal area are relatively narrowed. Based on my systematic review, and I only found that there are 8 searchable published studies that examine cancer-related mobilized information until the year 2020. And the cancer news article has been analyzed in previous studies that were published a long time ago. These studies, they concentrating on mobilized information, were all use a news sample published during 1999 to 2005, which is unable for us to understand and reflect how the current media landscape providing cancer related mobilizing information to the news readers. Since the cancer incidence rate and mortality rate keep changing since the last study published in 2008, it is indeed important for us to come back and concentrate on mobilizing information in cancer news coverage. So after this, after I reviewed, after I figured out the problems I here developed total 3 research questions. Firstly is a very descriptive, I asking the present rate, patterns or types of mobilizing information, and also the differences, the characteristics of news components in the news article, the differences regarding the news components, and also the main focus in this study is associations between the news components and the presence of mobilizing information. So I back to the political communication perspectives to find out some empirical support for my study. So I reviewed some literature in political communication area. In political communication, actually is very easy to be understood because they only tell the people how to do or what to follow or where to go for some political events, such as election campaign or some movement to certain group to support certain political figure or certain parties. So recently in political communication area, the scholars more concentrating on the role of public actors as a mobilizing information provider, especially in Hong Kong during the Umbrella Revolution in 2014. It's a very crucial actor for the younger generation to be ready for certain political events. So it's important to us to firstly understand mobilizing information in political communication perspective. And in health communication perspective, or particular health news coverage, mobilizing information also existed in several health issues, the coverage regarding several health issues, such as general health, public health emergency, mental health, and even some studies find out that in TV program or radio program, they also providing health-related mobilizing information. So mobilizing information in health communication perspective can be understood based on this model, which is health belief model. Health belief model explains people's behavior or intention to perform this behavior by internal cues and external cues. External cues is cue to action, which in this study we can understand that one as mobilizing information is serving as external cues for people's readiness to perform certain health behavior. And so coming to the sampling process, here I selected Malaysia, English, and Chinese online newspaper websites, which is the Star Online and Xinchu Online. Why English and Chinese? Because usually English is treated as a mainstream media and Chinese is ethnic media. Why Chinese newspaper? Because actually in Malaysia, the Chinese community ranks the highest cancer incidence rate. It's why it's crucial to understand how Chinese media presenting or providing cancer-related mobilizing information to their target news readers. So the news article is published in English or Chinese, I will be taken into account. And it's a daily newspaper that could be accessed in Peninsular Malaysia as well as Sarawak and Sabah. It's a public accessible, and also the newspaper, the owner of this website need to rank the highest usage among several other online news websites from the same language category. Based on the Digital News Report 2019, the Star Online and Xinchu Online ranks the highest news online news platform under the pure English category and pure Chinese category. So it's a reason I select the 2 newspaper websites. And also here I highlighted my coding items, which I will run my data analysis later. The coding items include the cancer type, news distance, and news type, and so on and so forth. The presence of MI, type of mobilizing information, the location of mobilizing information, which is located in the title or lead or the body or conclusion part of the news article. And and also cancer risk factors and news frame I serve for another paper later. So here is my my coding procedure. The total sample size is 841 news articles, entitled news articles. So, so the news article need to have headline, need to have a headline for each article. So I take them as my sample. So my coding keywords actually are some cancer-related keywords. The keywords shall be appeared in headline, sub-headline, or first 3 paragraphs in the news article. So thus I will be take from my data analysis later. So after excluding news articles, the sample size is 841. So for data analysis, I performed descriptive analysis, chi-square, and also binary logistic regression. So here is a pattern of the mobilizing of the cancer news coverage and the presence of mobilizing information through all the 3 years, 2017 to 2019. Here is a pattern. You can see some the peak and some months provider quite a lot cancer news article provider mobilizing information, but some months not. I will explain the reason later. The presence of mobilizing information total is 69.6%. And also, according to the chi-square, I found a significant difference between the Star Online and Central Online regarding the present rate of mobilizing information. Here is some categoristic of a news component, cancer type, the general cancer topics. More than half of news article concentrating on general cancer topics, and highly preventable cancer and highly detectable cancer. Also I categorize them. For news sources, here are the distributions. The prominent news sources actually is medical institutions, and also followed by NGOs and government. Here I have a chi-square result indicating that there is a significant difference between the Star Online and Central Online when they interviewing government agencies for mobilizing information. And also news focus here is distributions. 70% of the cancer news concentrating on primary cancer prevention, such as cancer education, early screening, some free event, some NGO-based event for the community, and followed by secondary cancer prevention, which is medical involvement. So here I also found a significant difference between the two newspaper websites regarding presenting primary cancer prevention and medical treatment, which the Star Online is more likely to present medical treatment topics, and Central Online, the Chinese one, is more likely to concentrating on primary cancer prevention. Here is cancer risk factors. The nearly half of news articles concentrated on medical risk, such as some radiation and also other disease-related cancer risks, and also 40% of news articles concentrating on lifestyle risks, such as obesity, alcohol, sugar intake, so on and so forth. And I also found the differences between the two newspaper websites regarding presenting lifestyle cancer risks, which the Star Online more likely to present lifestyle risks instead of the Central Online is more likely to be presented instead of the Star Online. So here are the type of mobilized information. Just now I explained there are 4 types. The first, I found that there are more than 70% of cancer news article provided tactical mobilized information, such as tips, instructions for cancer prevention, and also 34.2% of news articles provide the locational mobilizing information, such as location of cancer events, locations of some cancer special hospitals where the cancer specialists they are working for. So here, Chi-Square also indicating the significant differences between the two newspaper websites regarding interactive mobilizing information and identificational mobilizing information. And quantity of mobilizing information also could find the significant difference between the two newspaper websites. Okay. Apart from the chi-square and descriptive analysis, the associations between news components and mobilized information actually is a central focus in this study. Here I run two model of logistic regression to, here is a three model of logistic regression to predict the association between news components and the presence of mobilized information. The first one is a news source. News source, here the result indicating that when the newspaper interview staff from NGOs, the mobilized information is most likely to be provided. The odds ratio is 2.77. And followed by medical journals, odds ratio is 2.28, and also medical institutions. And also news focus. News focus, once a news article focusing on primary cancer prevention, the mobilized information is most likely to be presented, followed by secondary cancer prevention. But it's interesting to find that once the news focusing on medical research, mobilized information is less likely to be presented with an odds ratio of 0.33. Also, the cancer risk factors indicating the one lifestyle risk are presented, mobilized information is most likely to be presented as well. So followed by demographical risk, medical risk, demographical risk, environmental risk, and medical risk. So coming to the discussion part, here I found that there are nearly 70% of news articles provide at least one type of mobilized information in the news article. So actually this result is quite different with previous studies conducted in Western countries, particularly America and Canada. So it's renews a scholarly understanding pertaining to mobilized information in cancer coverage. Especially the study is conceptualized and conducted like 10 years later compared to the latest study published in 2008. And also refer to the distribution. This distribution is quite interesting. The finding actually is quite interesting. So regarding the monthly distribution, like I found that there were more cancer news articles provided mobilized information, like during February, October, and November. The main reason will be some important cancer event hosted during these months. Such as the World Cancer Day, the Children Cancer Awareness Month, and the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In particular, in this particular month, mobilized information in cancer coverage are more likely to be presented. However, in certain months, there were less cancer news article reporting mobilized information, such as June and July, because from 2017 to 2019, June and July actually is a period of Hari Raya. So the media is a time to avoiding negative news during the festival season. And another point is I found out the Chinese newspaper or Chinese online news is more likely to engage with NGOs from local Chinese societies, such as some ancestry connection organizations, religious organizations serve for Chinese communities, such as temples, organizations owned by temples and Chinese dominant churches. It shows that cancer coverage from different languages have varying source preference once the journalist preventing some attainable or mobilized information. And coming to the conclusion, due to the time limitation and workload, I only consider the cancer news article within a 3 years duration. The future study could consider to covering more extended period to provide a more comprehensive picture regarding cancer news coverage. And future content analysis studies should examine the cancer-related content from other media channels, especially social media, because now, especially the younger people are switching to the social media platforms for their information needs. And future studies should pay more attention to mixed method design, such as combine quantitative content analysis with experimental design, which can understand how the media present mobilized information and how the people, the respondents react to the mobilized information concurrently. So that's all for this study. Shall I move to my second paper or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go with the newspaper. The second one, which is on sourcing and framing practices in health journalism, the case of cancer news coverage in Malaysia. Please, the floor is yours again.
Okay, sure. Okay, basically the second paper is a manipulation of variables, particularly news components and two dependent variable, which is news source and news frame, conceptualized in my thesis. So the second paper concentrating on sourcing and framing practices in health journalism, particularly cancer-related news coverage in Malaysia. As I just explained, the cancer is a crucial health issue, and also is involving the collaboration of different practitioners from different backgrounds, such as public health organizations and also media organizations. It's essential to build awareness and develop cancer literacy among the public, especially for Chinese community in Malaysia, because the Chinese community ranks the highest cancer incidence rate. And news media frequently deliver health news related to various cancer topics. It could deepen and widen public's cancer knowledge, as well as mobilize the public readiness regarding cancer screening or cancer preventive intention. So how the cancer news articles are framed, what kind of issues they want, the health journalists they want to present in front of the readers, it's can be understood under the umbrella of sourcing and framing practices, because not only public concerns or political issues is framed, health issues are also framed and also involve the manipulation of frames and news sources. So the nature of cancer information presentation or cancer news coverage can be understood in two classical journalistic viewpoint, which is framing and sourcing. Because journalists usually select, emphasize, and highlight certain health issues based on pre-established media frames, advocating the readers to think and talk about the issue in particular framed ways. For cancer issue in specific, different news frames can impact the news reader's way of thinking about cancer, the perception of cancer, and the attitude towards cancer survivors, and also the level of their cancer awareness and cancer knowledge. It's crucial for us to understand how the cancer news are framed. Apart from framing, the invitation of news source or sourcing practices is also important, because the health journalists, they invite the news sources from different backgrounds to share their different opinions, different knowledges, in order to shape the news content in the particular ways they want and influence how the issues will be framed when it comes to the public framing. Especially health issue is important for us to understand what kind of issue the media want the news readers to be understood and to keep talking and keep thinking about this issue is important. So here I present a diagram showing how generally how the news is produced. Actually, most of the researchers, they would like to focus on frame building and framing effects. Framing effects, which means audience frame, which need to involve experimental design to see how the media message influence or affect their target respondents, but rarely can see how the news framed is built by the journalist. Actually, before frame building, actually this gram shows that source invitation or source frame is the first step of news production. Once the journalist invite some particular news sources, their frame can be cited through the interview or through the information shared by the sources. So it's important for us to understand the power of news sources instead of the power of news frame, because most of the researchers focus on the power of news frame. So here I would like to highlight the power of news sources and to say what's the initial driver of invitation of news sources and what's the relationship between news sources and other news components with frame building. So here I present some previous studies. They understand or they analyze news frame in cancer news. Actually, in cancer news in particular, there are two types of news frame researchers mostly involved. One is responsibility blaming frame. Actually, there are two types of responsibility blaming frames, which are episodic and thematic, which involve a personal responsibility, and another one involves social or organizational responsibility. And another dimension is issue-centered news frame, which is designed by these two scholars, which are three types of news frame that particular can be found in cancer news coverage. Actually, they are medical frame, lifestyle frame, and environmental frame. But a recent study, they found that more than 70% of American online news articles published in 2012 shows that cancer issues are mostly framed based on the medical frame. And coming to the sourcing practices, also mostly the studies showing a consistent finding shows that journalists are more frequently interviewed or cited health professionals from media institutions, research organizations, or universities for cancer news coverage. And another study also shows that health experts are essential sources in breast cancer news coverage in specific. And recently, a study conducted by Korean scholars indicating that the nationality of news sources will be also crucial because they can influence the way of covering cancer issue and increase the trustworthiness of news content in terms of culturally close to particular news readers, especially the minority groups in the United States. Although the many studies they analyze news frame and sourcing practices in cancer news coverage, there is still several gaps need to be noticed. The first, most of the studies they embarking on the cancer coverage from Western context, how the Eastern media, especially Malaysia media, cover cancer news and how they practice framing and sourcing is yet to be discovered. Second, among the studies that analyze news framing cancer coverage, the foresee and involvement of frame times are inconsistent. Some they using the responsibility blaming frame, and other using issue-centered frame. And also for the sourcing paradigms, most of public study only touch on the percentage of involvement of news sources, and they found that expert sources are the dominant news sources for cancer coverage. But the interaction and the causal relationship between why they invite this certain type of news source, and comes to what type of topic they invite this particular sources is yet to be discovered as well. So this understanding is still lacking. So based on the problem and study rationales I discussed, I developed 4 research questions for this study. Also from very descriptive, the percentage of portrayal of newsframe and the sources invitation, percentage of them, and also concentrating on the association between cancer continuums, the news components, and two dependent variable news source and newsframe. Research design here also the sample size is 841 from the Star Online and Xinchu Online, and manipulating 4 variables like they are cancer continuums, which involve primary cancer prevention, secondary cancer prevention, medical treatment, and so on and so forth. And cancer risk factors, lifestyle risk, environmental risk, demographic risk, medical risks, and also the new sources. I involve the sources that frequently involved in previous studies concentrating on cancer news. And also newsframe, the 3 types of newsframe that particular can be found in cancer coverage. And for data analysis, I used chi-square and logistic regression, both binary logistic and multivariate logistic regression for associating the news component and dependent variables. The result, chi-square indicating the difference between the Star Online and Xinchu Online regarding different news components, different news sources. I would like to highlight some key findings, key results are the invitation of new sources, medical institution. The Star Online is more likely to invite medical institutions, and Xinchu Online is more likely to invite government agencies and newsframe. There is also significant difference between the two newspaper websites, which the Star Online is more likely to frame the news article based on medical frame, and the Star Online is more likely to involve or portray lifestyle frame. Here, I presenting 2 logistic regression models. One is predicting the news source invitation. Another one is a portrayal of news frame. The first one I run binary logistic regression regarding the association between cancer continuums and cancer risk, cancer continuum, cancer risk factors, and the dependent variable news sources. Here, some key findings or interesting findings can be highlighted. You can see the significant level. The medical institution is a prominent news source in my sample as well. Is consistent with studies conducted in Western context in particularly American newspapers. Is we indicating the similar result. Medical institution is a prominent news sources. One, many cancer continuums were presenting or concentrating the medical institution is very likely to be interviewed. And also NGOs. I would like to NGOs the medical treatment were concentrating, the NGOs were less likely to be interviewed. And when medical research is concentrating, NGOs are also less likely to be interviewed. Actually, it's quite makes sense because NGOs they are launching the event or launching the awareness tutorial or workshop for the community. So when the news article concentrating on medical treatment or medical research, of course, they won't refer to NGOs lah. And also cancer risk factors. One, it's interesting to see that one lifestyle risk to be present. When presenting lifestyle risks, NGOs are less likely to be interviewed, and also medical risk. And interestingly, here also found that one the news article concentrating on primary cancer prevention, such as the benefits of cancer screening or early education, medical journals is more likely to be cited, and of course, medical research, and also government agencies. When cancer-related statistics were presenting by the media, the government agency was more likely to be interviewed. But it also makes sense that when the media concentrating on medical research, government agency is less likely to be interviewed. And also when the news concentrating on cancer risk, government agencies is less likely to be interviewed. It's quite makes sense actually. And the second regression model is predicting the associations between news source, cancer continuums, cancer risk factors, and news frame. Actually, the medical frame is like 70% is similar with previous studies. So it's a dominant frame I found, and also seem like many topics were concentrating the medical frames is more likely to be purchased. We can
Thomas, you have
yeah.
1 more minute, if that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I highlight some funding. Is that okay? Okay, I highlight some funding. So differences, the very important and very interesting is very interesting funding I find is that non-government, non-medical allied sources and are somewhat equally important for cancer coverage, such as NGOs and government agencies in Malaysia, because they are providing cancer-related statistics and some awareness event, and also the mentioning environmental and occupational cancer risks. So it's quite different from Western samples. Government agencies and NGOs are quite important. They are quite essential sources for Malaysian cancer coverage. And also NGOs is important as well. Also, I would like to highlight the limitation because actually I only use allied sources as during the coding, but the no-allied sources are ignored. So the future studies shall concentrating on the both allied sources and no-allied sources concurrently. And I feel to categorize the background of the new sources, especially for Chinese media, such regarding local Chinese source, local non-Chinese source, overseas Chinese source, and overseas non-Chinese source. Because based on the previous study conducted by Jun et al., the cultural ties are somewhat important in cancer coverage. And also during my coding, I found that Chinese newspaper is quite oftenly involve medical experts from China to conduct the cancer awareness event in Malaysia. So I think it's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas Zhang. We were thinking on opening the questions towards the end, but if any of you have any questions, is it possible if you could just share the questions in the chat room as well? And we'll address the question later on after the next presenter. Can I just check whether Leon Salter is here from the first presenter? No? Okay. Then I would now like to invite Mr. Nazra Alif Nazri to present his study on an analysis on the cultural content of Korean adaptation dramas in Malaysia.
Can you see? Hello? Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. My name is Nazra Alif Nazri. I am a PhD student from the National University of Malaysia, also known as UKM. And today I will be presenting my research paper entitled An Analysis on the Cultural Content of Korean Adaptation Dramas in Malaysia. So the introductions. Technology is an extravagant advancement of hominids' creations. And it was really clear that from the history, technological changes nowadays is very exponential. That's why technology such as televisions, internet is moving so fast that we can no longer reliably predict the future. And technology also has a really, really strong influence on culture and make it become more complex day by day as technology shapes different culture and differentiate us from another. And it also allow us to intermix with one culture visually, and through technologies such as televisions, internet, we can access as much as information without need to live in our local environments. And this will bring an impact towards society and also toward the culture itself, as the facts that technology affects all the individuals is inevitable. Technology and cultures also are two forces that influence each other in a very positive or negative way, therefore may change forever. And in our eras nowadays, television is one of the most popular communication channel in the world. And in our new context, in Malaysia especially, television has become one of the most influential and important medium in the spread of culture. And the facts that the development of technologies is enable information to spread rapidly to every corner of the world. And these unlimited developments and the area of media technology has influencing other culture, especially Korean culture, or we all know as Hallyu, to be assimilated and to be accepted by our local community or our local culture in Malaysia. And this will lead to the to the developments and the issues of Korean popular cultures in Malaysia, actually. As nowadays, Malaysian youths are becoming very obsessed with Korean culture, and entertainments brought by them in the turn have become really, really ignorant of their own culture and also the religions. This Hallyu practice also encourage a very, very liberal and very modern lifestyle, which is totally detached and reflects from Islamic teaching. And we can see that in 2015, whereas there are an events from a K-pop celebrity or an idol in Malaysia that that shows a female Muslim, actually a female youth Muslim being hugged and kissed by the artist or by the idol. And this is really totally break the Islamic principle. Also in 2017, where there's a mourning ceremony that being held in Kuala Lumpur. And this is also very, very frustrating because it's really, really contradicting our Islamic principle. Also last year, we have our Agama BTS group, or also known as the new religions groups, to worship BTS. And this is something like very, very sensational and very, very detached from the religions, from the Islamic religion principle itself. But if we are seeing in a global aspect, this Korean Hallyu, or we can say that its popular culture is being accepted worldwide, where we can see that last year, 2020, the film Parasite win the best movie in the Academy Awards. It showed that these particular movies or these Korean products is being accepted, and because of its high quality and standards. Also in 2020, last year, Netflix, most popular OTT platform in the world and the world's most largest streaming service, buy big into Korean drama. And it reflects the growing global appetite nowadays for the Korean drama itself. And this will lead to my problem statement, which is Hallyu is widely accepted by Malaysian viewer, and thus encourage the local TV channels such as Astro to broadcast more and more Korean-related programs, especially drama adaptations that derive from Korea, in order to cater the preferences of their audience. And the popularity of Hallyu nowadays among Malay women receive a lot of criticisms from various parties because it will result in rapid erosions of cultures and disappearance of the uniqueness of Malay culture itself. And the mediums of television has influenced especially in the term of social interaction, and it become more worse when Malaysian youth has a really high habit of watching televisions nowadays. And based on the past research, most of the previous study in Malaysia have revolved around the history of relation between Malaysia and Korea, as well as the basics for the existence of Hallyu. But the research between adaptations and the influences of Korea in the drama itself, the assimilation of culture in Malaysia is rarely to be seen, and therefore this study will uncover this specific area of context that has not been explored by the researcher before. And this is my objective questions in this research, which is to identify the portrayal of Korean culture in Korean adaptation dramas in Malaysia, as well as to understand the elements of culture highlighted in Korean adaptation dramas in Malaysia. And in this research, I use the cultural norm theory by Melvin Dieffler, because it is theory of mass communication, which suggests that the mass media selectively presents and emphasizes certain contemporary elements of value. And in this theory, have three assumptions, which is communications text via media channel could strengthen the culture of the local community, creating a new culture or making culture erosions. And and the methodology used in this research is content analysis, as content analysis is very useful method at identifying themes and preliminary categories. That's why it's really suitable to see whether what is the core element and what is the elements that found in the Korean element that's found in this adaptation drama. And the sample are Alamatnya Cinta from the original drama Full House, and also My Coffee Prince from the original Korean drama, which is the first shops of the Coffee Prince in 2007. And the summary of findings, based on the Klokoska cultural definitions, from 7 Klokoska cultural definitions, actually there is 6 of what we call that the elements that present or portray in this drama, which is in the element of religion, which is Islam, symbol, poster, character and color, custom, removing shoes and social status, traditions, costume and fruits, art, house, makeup, fashion and hairstyle, language, Bahasa Melayu, and also English, and literature. There is 9 portrayal of literature in these both dramas. And also the researcher also found a new finding, which is the element of patriotism, which the portrayal of Malaysian flags. And this is really important as this adaptation drama has also been adapted with various other countries such as China, Thailand, Philippines. So it's really important for the text maker to put our Malaysian flags to differentiate between Malaysian products with another adaptation drama. And it's also will portray our local culture and our local identity to the global viewer. Rather than that, we can see that the cultural element, which is the Malay cultural element, is really exposed in this drama compared to the Korean. And the data have shown that the prominence of the Korean culture in the adaptation drama has been really watered down compared to the original versions of this drama. And based on the cultural norm theory, with a lot of Malay cultural element being portrayed compared to the Korean cultural element, it shows that the Malay culture is being strengthened up by this adaptation drama. And also this indicates that the idea of Hallyu being tried to the local culture, especially to the Malay culture, is not substantial, as the portrayal is really minimum compared to the Malay culture itself. And the presence of the Korean adaptation drama in Malaysia is really good initiative, especially in preserving the elements of Malay culture through the original contents may differ as the cultural and norm affirm our identity as a people and as a nation, because it creates a comprehensive framework from the preservation of the cultural heritage for the next or for the future generations. And all in all, last but not least, that it is a really good initiative in educating the local community and promoting the local culture itself to the eyes of the world. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Nazra. Thank you so much. Just final check whether the first presenter is still here. Do you have any presenters? No. First presenter is not here. So I guess we have 3 presentations for today, and we have 2 presentations from Mr. Thomas, and we had 1 presentation from Nazra. Can I open the floor for some questions for some question and answer sessions. Can I have some questions? If you do not want to ask using the audio system, you can ask by typing out in the chat. Thomas and also Dr. Jason, if I were to ask some interesting thing with regards to health and Chinese communities, news is being shared extensively in the Chinese media here, and it's quite interesting with the local Chinese media using experts from overseas Chinese giving inputs. I think that's an interesting insight. I was just wondering, I know this is a far-fetched, but I've noticed that in Malay media, like Utusan or Berita Harian, you don't see much on, there is one column every Sunday, if I could recall, that covers about health. But first question is, just based on your observation or maybe your understanding with regards to Malay media, what do you think is the coverage of health-related issues in there? That would be my first question. And the second question is, one of the challenges with regards to health and cancer situation is cultural, as you've mentioned with your health belief model. Cultural plays a strong part, especially in our society today. The non-scientific approach seems to be being very popular, and Chinese medicine also has its own, its own stories, and even Malay, calling it the Malay medicine in that sense, the non-scientific medicines, that I would like to say also seems to be very prominent. Are those things covered in some of the news that you've discussed with relations to cancer situation? Yeah.
Yes. Firstly, I see the invitation of new sources from overseas Chinese society, particularly they are inviting the oncologists or specialists, cancer-related specialists from Singapore and from mainland China. Actually, it's a previous lab before COVID-19, like 2018 and 2019, there are many coverages regarding how they invited the experts from China to share with the local Chinese community regarding the new treatment method and new approach, and even traditional Chinese medicine, like in cancer recovery for the cancer patient, the involvement, the combination between Western medicine and Chinese medicine. Actually, there are quite a lot of this kind of coverage as well.
Okay, it's quite interesting to see that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to add on. I would like to respond to Dr. Latif's question on the observation of Malay newspapers or Malay media as compared to other language of newspapers or media. Based on my observation and also based on my previous research on HIV/AIDS on 3 different languages of newspapers, I found that, and it is actually in line with our research on cancer, which the Star, they will use journal articles that refer to medical journals. I would say the reason being that of their senior editors' post and also the background of the senior editors. Because to find out more, definitely we have to conduct in-depth interview to know why they need to choose medical journals when they report cancer news. But one thing I can see is because the senior editor, when I interview for HIV/AIDS research, the senior editor has MBBS background, Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery. So that's why they will report news, they will talk about science, right? And they will use scientific facts, medical journals, and communicate with their public and readers. For Chinese newspapers or Chinese media, on the other hand, like what Thomas explained, they will also incorporate with medical or even scientific information, but mainly from overseas and also Chinese related. I think this is what they want to touch the ground, right? They want to keep connected with the readers. Now for Malay media, I see they are more inclined to religion focused.
Yeah.
I noticed that they're more inclined towards religion focus. So we see that's why you see our chi-square results show that there is significant difference between the Star and also Chinese online newspaper when they report cancer.
Yeah. So based on both your studies with HIV and with cancer, do you think we have strong need to have more scientific journalists or health journalists? Are we really lacking there? I know a lot of universities offering this, scientific journalism as a program that's been offered, but we don't see as much here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think for this mobilizing information, why we study this mobilizing information, our intention is to see the extent of our media in their reports, whether they just simply provide awareness without taking into account to mobilize the public to engage in certain, healthy behavior. So I think media is not just about reporting news at the stage of reporting news, right? For the sake of reporting news, but they also need to engage with the public, mobilize, motivate the public to take up, right, certain healthy behavior, so that these public, they will learn how to self-manage their health without too depending on the government or even healthcare practitioners, but they know, right, the purpose. So I think this, they read with purpose. This is important. So that's why this research objective is to identify whether this mobilizing information component is included in media report. Now we see, although 70% of the media at least report one type of mobilizing information, but we must say that there is much room for improvement. So media training is needed. So in conclusion, I would say definitely, absolutely, we need scientific journalists, right? We need healthcare related journalists. They are able to read journal articles, right? So that they are able to safeguard the spread of fake news, misinformation, right? In this critical period.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Jason. I think there's a need. I think UKM has also been very, very active towards health communication studies. And I think there's a strong need for that. Thank you very much, Dr. Jason. We have another question now for Nazra. Nazra, why have you chosen the two dramas? Yeah. I think you've chosen two dramas that were adapted, yeah? Yeah.
It is simply because from the past research show that Full House and My Coffee Prince has been phenomenal and very popular in Malaysia. And rather than that, it is simply because I'm focusing toward only the drama itself rather than other programs. And also during 2017 and 2018, only these two dramas that have a right and have the license to adapt from the original versions. That's why I'm using these two dramas as a sample.
So we don't have many, eh? Do we have movies where we adapt?
No, we have many programs that we adapt, but for the drama itself, only two, Full House and also My Coffee Prince, that have the right and the license.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? Well, the time now is 6:02, and I wouldn't even want to ask what time it is in New Zealand. It's a Saturday night. If there are no other questions, it is out of your personal choice if I could have a group picture of everyone here today, but it is up to you. If you choose not to switch on your camera, that's okay. But if not, can everyone here, let's give support to our presenters for a photo session on that matter. Yeah, that would be great. All right, guys. Hold on, let me do this. Is everyone ready? Should I give 1 minute? Okay. Anyone else? Some people are getting running, to get properly dressed in that matter, I think. Yeah, okay. I'll just, oh, yeah, there's a few. Anyone else? Oh, okay. All right, quite a team here, isn't it? Okay, hold on, let me take once and one more. This is in true Asian spirit of taking pictures. We always have to take twice for quality control purposes. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I think it's the end session for today, and we look forward for tomorrow's session and closing ceremony as well. So good job, Mr. Thomas, Dr. Jason, Mr. Nazra, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you here for coming and supporting and also asking questions to the panelists. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Good rest. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.
Bye.